Okay, thank you for coming back to Wayne's Kitchen. Today we're going to be cooking chicken marsala, which I know a lot of you have had in the restaurants. Maybe a few of you don't know how to cook it, so I'm going to show you how to cook it. First of all, I want you to get a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to use that for coating your chicken. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon or so of fresh ground black pepper. Put a little more, a little less, it's up to you. Cut it out altogether. That's all up to your personal taste. A 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. We're not going to use fresh in this one. It doesn't sit as well and blend as well, but you can if you want to try, but it's a little harder to use. 4 skinless, boneless chicken breasts, halves, pounded to a 1/4 inch thick. Now, what I like to do is just go get 2 big halves. Full chicken breasts, and I like to cut them in half and then pound them out, because that thick, if you get good chicken breast, that thick chicken breast like that is too much, and you can't really pound it down to a 1/4 inch. So if you cut it in half, you can pound it down to a 1/4 inch, and that's nice. Make sure you pound it with the big waffle end of your beater. Okay. Also, you're going to need 4 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons olive oil, 2 cups sliced mushrooms. I use these mushrooms, of course. You can buy them at like Publix or wherever, already sliced, which is convenient. Saves you a little bit of time in the kitchen. Not much, but a little. There's how fast of a slicer you are. A 1/2 cup of Marsala cooking wine, and also a 1/4 cup of sherry cooking wine. Now, I use the Holland House. I personally like these wines. I think they're actually pretty good. Bottles aren't that big, but they're pretty good. But they make them in red, Marsala, white, sherry, whatever you're cooking with. So be sure to get those if you can. And now we'll get ready to cook. Okay, now first thing I want you to do is mix your flour. Get yourself a little bowl. Put your flour in there. I want you to grab your salt. Dump it in. Your oregano. And your pepper. Like I said, I like to add pepper to taste. I like to grind mine myself. If I'm going to add pepper. It's a matter of taste. So, I want you to mix all that up real good. Mix it around. Doesn't have to be anything special, but this is just going to be something you're going to dip your chicken in to coat your chicken. Also, you might want to be thinking at this point about what you're going to cook with your chicken, because this is the main part of the dish, but you're going to need a pasta or rice or something that you want to put it on. Traditionally, it's you'll end up using a pasta, like a fettuccine. I'm not in the mood to make fettuccine tonight, so I bought some fresh made though. It's a little better than trying that dried out stuff. And we're going to cook that tonight to go with this. And now that we have done that with our flour, we're going to take our chicken, which I've already sliced and prepared. We're going to open that. Now, like I said, take it out, slice that breast in half like that, and then beat it down so you get a little bit of tenderizing to it. Now I want you to take that, dip it in your flour, like so. Don't have to go too crazy with it. And we're just going to coat our chicken pretty good with some flour. This is going to give us a nicer flavor later. It's going to really help out, rather than if we didn't do this. Some Marsala recipes don't require this. Personally, I think this actually does something to it. Sometimes I'll even add a little bit of allspice to this if I really in the mood for it, and it helps out a lot too. But, some people just don't like this allspice flavor of fresh ground allspice in their chicken. I don't know why. At least people around me don't, so that's why I'm not doing it. Gotta make it some way that the loved ones like it. So, and there you go, that's what you're gonna end up with. Nice breaded piece, and you're going to have this extra here. You can always use for breading more later, making something else with. You can save it. It's up to you. Okay, now that I've gone and started my water to get it ready, I also took the 3 tablespoons of oil, which you can also lower the amount of oil if you want to. I don't really recommend it, but you can. And add that to a large skillet. Then add some butter to that large skillet as well. And we're going to melt this down. And as soon as that's melted, we'll be ready to add the chicken. Okay, now that our butter and oil have melted and are mixed thoroughly together, I'm going to take the chicken. And we're going to lay the chicken into the pan, like so. We want a little less chicken because I don't have as many people eating tonight, just 2, so it's a lot easier. And then let it cook like that over medium heat for a little while till you get it nice and evenly cooked. Then flip it over, let it cook a little some more, and then we'll start adding our other ingredients. Okay, now that the chicken is at this point, we're going to flip it. I added a little more of my flour mix to the top of the chicken while it was cooking. Just kind of thicken what's going to be coming in here in a minute. Oop, we're overflowing. Look out. Okay, I've also done my pasta, as you can see. It is cooking. Forgot to turn down the heat on it, so it overboiled on me. That's fine. But so our chicken's almost there to start adding the spices, or the mushrooms and the wine, and we'll be doing that shortly. Okay, now that we've flipped it and it's started to cook a little bit, now what I want you to do is to take your mushroom, 2 cups. It's a lot of mushrooms because I love mushrooms. And we want to add these into it. And we're going to want them to cook in quite a bit. I'll let them sit on our dish. And I want you to add the wines. So we're going to add the Marsala first. Then we're going to add the sherry next. And we are going to cook this in, trying to get our mushrooms down into the juice and not as much stacked on each other. If we can get them to disperse evenly, that's going to be really nice for our dish. And we will cook it like this. Now another trick I can do to thicken the gravy that we get is I can also take oil, like olive oil, and flour, and just keep kneading it and rubbing it together until you make a little ball of very compacted, and you just keep adding flour to it and get it really more oil, more flour until you get like a really compact, tight ball of flour and oil. And then you can break off pieces of that and throw it in the sauces, and it'll help thicken them. And also, now that you have added your wines, so you can add a little more of that flour to this if you have it. It'll help thicken it a little. And that'll put your spices in there. But also I want you to cover it, because I don't want this all to cook off. I want this to stay in there. Okay? Cover it like that. And leave it remain at medium heat. And allow it to stay covered like that. And it's going to cook for about 10 minutes. And then you're going to turn it once during this. I want you to flip the chicken during that 10 minutes, so about 5 minutes in. And then continue to let it cook for 5 more minutes. Then we're pretty much going to be done. Okay, now that we're done cooking, voila, chicken marsala. Wonderful dish. Remember, have your loved ones do the dishes. You cook the meal. You shouldn't have to. And also you can garnish with some herb that you pull out of your own garden. This is out of mine. And make a dish look presentable and beautiful. Again, thank you for joining Wayne's Kitchen. Good night, and have a wonderful evening.